Most African Americans don't like to be called Africans. I tried to understand this in some of my studies, and I discovered that a lot of African Americans believe that Africa is a zoo. They believe that Africa is a forest. In other words, there are no houses, no roads, and no buildings in Africa. I don't know where they get this information from. But you see, we are all blacks, and there's no need trying to separate an African from an African American. Just because I don't talk like, hey yo, Shotty say what? Hey, where you about to go? Hey, you know what I'm saying? Man, I'm about to yeah, he talking about he gonna give me some. He talking about yeah, I'm about to smash some really quick, you know what I'm saying? I ain't about to go over there with you, man. You say what? Boy, okay, get out my face, boy. I don't have to talk like that for you to accept me for who I am.
I really wish y'all would stop saying that black people that live in America or live in other countries are African. We don't even look African, goddammit. Africans have a distinct look. You can tell that we have brown skin, but do we look like Africans? That's like saying that Italians look like Caucasian white people. They don't. They look different. No different from people who are from Ukraine. They look different from other white people. I wish y'all would stop with that shit now. We are indigenous to America. That's what y'all don't understand. Indigenous, native, and when I say that, I don't mean not of African descent, like every motherfucking person didn't originate from motherfucking Africa. But if you want to be correct, Africa is in America too. But hey, y'all don't want to have that discussion. But I'm just saying that it was black people here before.
Usually being called you look African is a definite flex. The whole world know that. Boy, ain't no flex being called African. What person you know that gets happy when they be called an African? Now forget that. What black American you know that think it's a flex to be called an African or say you look African? You call a black American Negro African or they say you look African, they gonna be mad as a motherfucker. That's just like a white person calling them the N-word. You call a black American and tell them, hey nigga, you look African. You look like my Ghanaian uncle. They will be mad. Okay? Even look in the comments gonna tell you they don't like being called African, look African, sound African, none of that African shit. Nobody wanna look like no African. The only people that look like African to me is the Caribbeans. The Caribbeans are African. Those are full-blooded Africans. Okay? The Jamaicans look full-blooded Africans. Okay? All the Caribbeans look African. That's why I look at people sideways on this country that say they got Caribbean in their family. I said, okay, well, you got African in your family. So people say, man, I got Caribbean. They came from America and went over there. And they Caribbean, that's my family. Well, they African. God damn it, there was some Africans. Every Caribbean I seen look African. All right? So you fuck around and call somebody African if you want to in black America. They're gonna be upset. Nobody wanna look like no African. Call a black Filipino African, they're gonna be mad. Even call the Australian people that's black, call them African, they're gonna be mad. Nobody wanna look African, man. It's a joke. It's not a flex. It's not. It's not. Ain't nobody walking around in America, especially the Negroes in America, say, hey, I look African. Okay? Only y'all, see, y'all got a distinct look that nobody has in this world, yo. We can look at y'all and tell y'all African. 9.9 out of 10, if I see one of you flip-flop wearing motherfuckers walking down the street, I can tell that's an African. Y'all walk different. Y'all look different. Y'all eyes are yellow. You know, 8 times out of 10, y'all got them jaundice eyes. So yeah, nah, man. Shit, dog. Fuck around, call somebody African. Look at the comments.
They are Caribbean.
No. What is it? Okay. People that come from Jamaica, what do you call them?
I low-key don't even know.
What do you mean you don't know? What do you call someone that comes from Jamaica? What is their ethnicity?
They're Jamaican.
Why don't you call them African Jamaicans?
Because they're not African. They're not from Africa.
Jamaicans? Okay, so when did Jamaicans get to Jamaica and when did Black Americans get to America?
Jamaicans.
Oh yes everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you are all doing good. Guys, why do some black Americans distance themselves from African identity. Guys, in this video, we are diving deep into the historical, cultural, and social reasons behind the complex relationship between African Americans and the African continent. So guys, in conversations about identity, culture, and ancestry, few topics spark as much debate as the connection or disconnection between Black Americans and African identity. For generations, African Americans have navigated a complicated relationship with the African continent. Some embrace it, others distance themselves from it, and many stand somewhere in between, balancing pride, pain, and the unknown. So guys, in today's video, we are just here to explore why some Black Americans decline or even reject being associated with African identity, why they may say we are not African, and why this tension continues to exist even today. This is not about judgment, this is about understanding. So guys, let me roll the clips, then I'll be coming back with more commentaries. In case of any thoughts, kindly feel free to let me know in the comment section. Stay tuned.
Black queens forever, snow bunnies never. Black queens forever, snow bunnies never. I said black butter almond queens, black butter pecan queens, black warm peanut butter queens, black butterscotch queen, black fudge queen, black cinnamon queen, black sweet brown sugar queen, black pistachio, black walnut, black almond queens. It's black queens forever, snow bunnies never.
I wanted to come on here and say, why do Pan-Africans push African identities on people who don't have African ancestry? You have people like OHF and J History telling people they're African with no proof besides a fake slave story and phenotypes. We all know that all melanated people don't come from Africa. Groups like the Pacific Islanders and other melanated people around the world, just because you have dark skin and curly hair doesn't make you African. We have closer relations to oceanic people than West.
Point, we need to make a distinction. What's the issue with Black Americans having their own culture? We have our own.
So the reason why I decided to stitch this video and not the original podcast is because I could tell that the woman who did the reaction video, that I could tell she was offended. I know she's an African woman, and I could just tell by the things that she was saying in her reaction that she was offended by the sentiments that were shared in that podcast. So the thing is, I think that what gets misconstrued when people are saying stuff like this, when certain Black people will say, I'm American, I'm not African American. I think that the sentiments and the reason why somebody would be offended, like somebody from Africa might be offended by that, is because I think what they're hearing is that we don't want to be African, or that we don't want to be associated with our African heritage, and that could not be further from the truth. That is not what they're saying. And the thing is, like she was saying in the video, like anybody who's from Africa could identify as African American, because technically, as an immigrant coming from Africa, you're still African American. So what you can't, how do you even make that distinction? That's the reason why I say that even this goes beyond just calling ourselves American. Yes, we're American, but I feel like we should have an ethnic distinction that is just specific to our specific group. And we need to have this conversation more, because the African American term is just not accurate, and it's just not descriptive enough to actually tell who we really truly are. And I've actually been saying this for a long time, that I really feel like Black Americans, we need a new term. We don't need to call ourselves Black. We don't need to call ourselves African American. And there's nothing wrong with being African. Like, that's not the point. The point is, it's not an accurate title for actually who we are, because y'all got to remember, if you're offended by this, just remember, Black Americans have been in this country. Our ancestors came here hundreds of years ago. We're not immigrants. We've been here for hundreds and hundreds of years. We built up this country. So for us to label ourselves, with the continent of Africa and not have our own descriptive name really does not make sense, because yes, we're mostly, and even in the video, she said, yeah, I'm of African descent, but that's not a good description of who she is or who we are. Africa is an entire continent full of different countries, different ethnicities, different tribal groups, languages, cultures. Like it's so, like how is a person from America, no matter what we look like, no matter how many similarities that we share, how are we supposed to identify with an entire continent that we don't even know what specific region we should even be identifying with at all? You can't just identify with the entire continent of Africa or the entire West African coast. There's too many different groups there. Like, how are we going to identify with that? We don't even know how to identify with that, like, unless without being very vague about it. Because, like, even when, to be honest with you guys, when I got my DNA test, I was a little bit disappointed, to be honest with you, because 13 different nations around this world came up as running through my blood, running through my veins. 13 different nations around the world. And so that doesn't really give me any connection outside of the United States. Like, how am I going to identify with 13 different places around this world? And all African Americans don't have the same admixtures. Like, I'm mixed with things that other African Americans are not mixed with. I'm mixed with Madagascan, which is Malagasy, in East Africa. I'm also mixed with Mexican. Like, a lot of African Americans are not mixed with the same things. So it's very difficult for us to try to identify as African American. Well, for some people, not others. But I just don't feel like it's just not specific enough to what we actually are here in America. So this is not about not wanting to be African or not wanting to be associated with our roots or with the people that we descended from or who we share the vast majority of DNA with. It's not about that. I think when people are saying what she's saying about not wanting to be African American, is that we're just not from Africa. So it just doesn't really give us a good sense of identity.
I'm about to address a few things that I've been seeing in the comments under this video. First things first, this is not my hair. I have a type 4, like, short afro. I'll insert a picture. That is my actual hair. This is a half wig. And even when my hair looks like that, people still ask me about my ethnicity. The main thing I want to talk about is there's a few comments under that post where people are calling me ignorant, saying like, well, there's black people everywhere. They can be of a different ethnicity and nationality. Guys, I know that. Like, I fucking know that. Maybe I should have made that more clear, but what I meant was, do I not look like a black American? That's what I really meant. So sorry, but y'all don't gotta call me ignorant. Like, I've had to delete a few comments because some of y'all get real lippy at the mouth. I know that black people come in all different ethnicities and nationalities. I just meant that I was just wondering why people didn't think I was black American, because they never did.
Guys, as you continue watching, we still have other clips to watch. You know, we are just exploring topics such as this, the impact of slavery, lost lineage, and forced disconnection. Let's discuss in the comment section how media, society, and stereotypes shape perceptions of Africa. Let's talk about identity struggles within the African diaspora and why some embrace African roots while others reject the association. Guys, this discussion is not about blaming or judging. It's about understanding the layered experiences that shape identity for millions of people across African diaspora. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more conversations on culture, history, and identity. Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments, guys. What does African identity mean to you? Guys, let's get into these remaining clips. I'll be coming back with more commentaries. Stay tuned.
We are not African American. We are founded Black Americans or American Indians. They found us here. There was no slave trade. They found us here and they enslaved us. We own the land. This is our land. We are the American Indians. DNA test is not for us. We don't have to do DNA tests. We have genealogy. Our genealogy show that we are American Indians. They lied to us. They have been lying and telling all these lies on our DNA test. for all who watching this, I'm actually trolling the pretendians, you know. That's how they sound, you know. Yeah.
Some of you African Americans should be ashamed of yourself, and I'm here to tell you why. Hi.
So she went on in the video to say that we talking about America as if it's ours. Didn't watch the rest of the video. However, this is what I find ironic about these people, and this is why I say that the bottom line is very blatant. What I find ironic about these people is that the proof is in the pudding. It is still factually documented that we've been renamed. However, no one ever makes 2 + 2 = 4 about white Americans. It's a reason why they are the only ones seen as Americans, because they're the ones that strip themselves of their identity to become American. We're not the ones who are in confusion, love, and they are not the ones in confusion. They understand exactly and fully what has been done, and that is why what's going on now is confusion to you. It's not that we're acting like America is ours. They are responding as if they're responding to the owners. That's what got y'all in confusion. But I can save you the confusion right here, because y'all steady say, where are you really from, to Black Americans, and y'all don't utter this to the Europeans, the Frenchmen. When they got here, they were Europeans and Frenchmen and Spaniards. That is what they were. These are the people. Nobody ever makes 2 + 2 = 4 on how a white American is just seen as American. They're the ones who had to erase themselves. In order for them to take on the American identity, they had to drop the European identity, the French identity. This is why, the same way we got genealogy that tests us back hundreds of years here, they have genealogy for themselves. They can go find their own family members. That is not something that they want to do, because for them, that is an identity that they let go long ago. So that should save y'all the confusion there. Y'all are wondering, why are they responding to us as if they're talking to the owners of this, and now I got all y'all in confusion. It's not the conversations. It's the act right about our conversations. You feel what I'm saying? It ain't that hard for y'all to figure out why the hell is they acting on everything these people saying. They said they gonna boycott us and they came and raided us. They said they was not defending no more. They wouldn't get on the front line no more. And ICE done went up there, snatched all them illegal Spanish persons, and they just, y'all can't see what's going on? We don't really get that many weekends. The people in a borrowed identity are responding to the people that they borrowed it from. It's the reason why we've been renamed umpteen thousand times, and they've only been renamed once. On those papers, the same papers that shows which Black Americans became prisoners of wars, and they got all the full list of so-called slaves and things like that. They have the true identity on there, whether they were European, French. So you wonder, why are we talking as if America is ours? You never wondered that about a European or a French or an Italian? The Italians are the only ones that still allow themselves to have a piece of the identity before they got here. The rest of them just want to erase. We're not the ones in confusion. Y'all is just thinking heifer.
You know, guys, during the Atlantic slave trade, millions of Africans were forcibly taken from their homeland. Yes, and they were stripped of language, tribal affiliations, cultural traditions, family names, and spiritual systems. I'm saying this because to understand this disconnect, we really have to start with this history. For many African Americans, this wasn't just physical displacement. It was an intentional erasure of identity. Generations grew up without the ability to trace a last name, a region, a tribe, or even a specific culture. So while many ethnic groups in the United States can proudly look back and say, I'm Irish, I'm Italian, or I'm Jamaican, African Americans inherited a painful truth. They were cut off the details that make identity feel real, personal, and grounded. Because of this, some Black Americans feel that being told you are African is oversimplified, almost as if centuries of unique experiences in America are being dismissed. So let's talk about the psychological impact of lost lineage. You know, when you don't know exactly where you come from, identity becomes something you have to rebuild, not something you are given. For many African Americans, the continent of Africa feels abstract. It's huge, diverse, and full of cultures that aren't necessarily connected to their direct ancestors. They might wonder, am I from Nigeria, Ghana? Am I from Congo, Senegal? Am I from Kenya? Like me here, I'm from Kenya and I'm in Kenya. And without answers, some people feel disconnected from the idea of being African, even if they acknowledge African ancestry. You know, this lack of specificity often creates a unique identity. African American, not African, a nationality that is shaped by history, is shaped by shared history, music, struggle, innovation, and resilience, that is distinct from the ancestral cultures that were taken. Yeah, so we have a lot of media representation and misconceptions. Another major factor is how Africa has been portrayed for decades in Western media. For many Americans, the first images they ever saw of Africa were famine, poverty, conflict, or safari wildlife. Rarely did they see prosperous cities, thriving cultures, intellectual achievements, or modern African lifestyle. So, when your only exposure to a place is negative or incomplete, it becomes difficult to feel connected to it. Some Black Americans grew up embarrassed when kids teased them with stereotypes, jokes about huts, jungles, or African booty scratcher. Those experiences stay with people, and they show how some grow up viewing Africa not as a homeland, but as something they were mocked for. Yes, let's talk about the cultural differences between Africans and African Americans. You know, despite shared ancestry, Africans and African Americans are culturally very different. African Americans have their own distinct culture. The gospel and blues that grew from plantation songs, Black American English, the fashion, hairstyles, and traditions shaped in the United States, intellectual and political movements like the Harlem Renaissance, the Civil Rights Movement, and Black Lives Matter. On the other side, African immigrants arrive with cultures tied to specific nations, languages, and traditions. Sometimes there are misunderstandings between the two groups, stereotypes, cultural clashes, and even mutual judgment. When African Americans feel misunderstood or criticized by Africans, it can deepen the feeling that they don't belong on either side of the diaspora conversation. So, wanting identity to be self-defined, you know, some Black Americans reject African identity because they want an identity built on their lived experience, not one projected onto them. They might say, I'm Black American, that's its own culture, or I'm not African, I'm descended from Africans, but I'm something new. For them, the identity formed over centuries in the United States through hardship and survival is powerful and unique. It's not that they hate Africa, it's that they insist their culture is more than the continent they originally came from. This is similar to how Jamaican culture, Haitian culture, and Afro-Brazilian culture are unique, shaped by African roots, but transformed over time. Yes, so there is internalized racism and colonial legacy. However, we also have to acknowledge another reality. Some of the rejection of Africa comes from internalized racism and colonial narratives. For centuries, United States society portrayed Africa as primitive and Europeans as civilized. these messages were accidental. They were not accidental, I mean, they were used to justify slavery. And those stereotypes did not disappear. They seeped into pop culture, education, and even social interactions. And because of this, some Black Americans may unconsciously distance themselves from anything that is associated with Africa to avoid negative stereotypes. Not out of self-hate, but out of social survival. Yes, so there's a shift among younger generations. Yeah, this is interesting. Interestingly, this trend is changing. More young Americans are exploring their African ancestry through DNA testing, African travel vlogs, Afrocentric fashion and art, Pan-African movements, online conversations connecting the diaspora. So, Afrobeats, Nollywood films, and African creators have also reshaped global perception of Africa. Many young African Americans are embracing African identity with pride, and at the same time defining their own unique place within the world's Black communities. So the relationship between Black Americans and African identity is complex, it's emotional, and it's deeply personal. Some reject it, some embrace it, and many are still discovering what it means to them. But one thing is clear, identity is not simple. It is a journey shaped by history, shaped by culture, shaped by experience and choice. So no matter where you stand, the conversation itself is a step towards understanding, healing, and connection across the global Black diaspora. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Of course, all credit belongs to the original creators of the video. This video is meant for educational purposes and commentary purposes as well. In case you have not subscribed, kindly consider subscribing and turn on that notification bell so that you don't miss on the next one. Like the video and share the video for it to get to a wider audience. See you in the next one, guys. Peace be with you. Until next time.